away. Oh, I know that it's good to see Susan Lachensky here from the LCPR, and we did like 72 things at the last meeting. You're gonna love it. Kidding. It's the meeting. The jokes write themselves. Hi. All right. That's how I check. That's my mic check. Say something crazy and see if people will say anything. All right. So let's start with. We'll start out with our roll call.
Okay. State Auditor Julie Blaha.
Here.
Roger Carlson. John Dalkey. Steve Donnie. Dan Johnson.
Here.
Aaron Johnston.
Here.
Michael Knotek.
Here.
Carl Mork. Daryl Pettis.
Here.
Clinton Rogers.
Here.
Kevin Wall. Michael Wallstein.
Here.
And Thomas Wilson.
Here, finally.
Thank you. All right, and our team is here as well. Let's before we do the before we start with the agenda, I do wanted to just do something that I know that Rose really enjoys is when she is honored in any way. She really loves it when it's really publicized a lot and focuses on her. So I just wanted to share. You took this out again. It's just another way to congratulate Rose for the I'm going to make sure I get this right. State Fire Department Association, which gave her a special award for her service. And so maybe if we could all start out by clapping and looking at Rose. Again, one of the reasons she got this, she's so humble. And now, if it was someone like me, I'd be like putting it on a chain and wearing it. And so, but no, she's being that. But again, well deserved, and we're so proud of her on that.
Thank you very much.
Okay, long speech. No, I know. All right, and so let's go into then taking a look at the agenda. What we have our return to service clarifications, which we think might kind of make it our biggest discussion here. Firefighter and service definitions, wrap that up, combined service pensions, and then a quick review of the things we've already approved, so we know what we'll be suggesting to the LCPR. So with that, is there any discussion on the agenda? All right, seeing none, let's get yourself unmuted. All those in favor of the agenda you see before you, say aye.
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 Those opposed, say no. All right, the ayes have it, and the motion carries. Again, for people who are watching this online and haven't seen these, one of the reasons we can easily do a voice vote in this committee is because, or this working group is because we do everything with unanimously. So one no puts us back into a different discussion. So I don't have to worry about hearing volume levels. It's any no is no. Okay, all right. Well, with that, let's take a look at our working group minutes from our last meeting. So again, also a reminder to anyone watching, our group gets these materials out ahead, and they take a look at it there. And if people could realize and a thank you to the group for the time you're putting in outside of these meetings. You know, you might put an hour and a half in here, but I know that you put time in outside, as well as all the time you spend talking to your people on that. So are there any changes to the minutes? All right, seeing none, I think we're ready for a vote. All those in favor of the minutes you see before you, say aye.
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 Those opposed, say no. All right, the ayes have it, and the minutes are passed. What I love about these votes are too, I can also test how good your connection speed is, because when it comes in on our end, we can tell if it comes in staggered. It's kind of fun to see whose connection's the fastest. Okay, let's take a look and get right to exhibits B and C and talk about return to service potential changes. And so, Rose, if you don't mind walking us through.
Okay, so return to service, the provision in statute is long, and it's one that is pretty wordy and complicated, and it's one area where we do receive a lot of questions. We noted two technical issues as staff during our reviews during the year that we had identified and wanted to get fixed. And so we thought this might be a good time to try to tackle the subdivision and try to get it a little bit easier to read and administer. So Exhibit B contains some draft changes that we've been circulating out for a little bit. In the exhibit on page 2, there's 2 highlighted areas of benefit level. That phrase is highlighted, and those are 2 changes from when we first started circulating this. I think in August it was. The technical changes that we're proposing in the attachment would clarify that the resumption service requirement applies to defined benefit plans only. And the reason for that is if a firefighter returns and is subject to a resumption service requirement but doesn't need it, that then the benefit level used to calculate the service pension may be a lower level. And so that doesn't apply to the defined contribution plans, but the language that's currently in the statute doesn't make that distinction. And so, we're trying to fix that in Exhibit B. We're also clarifying that the vesting requirements that are used to determine pension amounts would be the amounts at the time that the member separates from active service. And that phrase, separate from active service, is defined as when they permanently cease firefighting duties. And then we're also providing clarification on a change that the working group had made a few years ago now, but it's that members who get paid out either their retirement benefit or a disability benefit. If they resume active service again, a relief association can define in its bylaws that those individuals be subject to different vesting requirements. And it could be lower vesting for those people who return after getting paid back. So those are the changes that we're trying to make in B, and then in addition, kind of shortening it up and clarifying it as we go. There is the Exhibit C are some flow charts, and those are things that are pulled from a statement of position that we have up on our website. So we are providing those as kind of hopefully education, or like to kind of help as you're reading through the changes that we were proposing. We also prepared a side-by-side, and I think Maya has that and can pull it up. And so this is the changes that we're proposing in Exhibit B, and then some notes on the right side. I hope it's on the right side on what you're seeing too. On the right side are some notes or annotations to why we're proposing the changes. And you'll see here, there's a highlighted text in yellow, and that is a change that we just were talking about before the meeting started. And it's language that's in statute currently. In Exhibit B, we had proposed striking it out, but we would like to keep that. So otherwise, everything else on the left-hand side are the same changes that we're showing here in Exhibit B.
Okay, and the stuff is it's a lot here, and I think you can see it's better, but there's almost no way to really write statute in a way or legislation in a way that is good at training it. I mean, this is I don't think we're going to ever write it in perfectly plain language. I mean, you're always going to need a flow chart. You're going to need a flow chart. You're going to need a graphic I think to understand these kind of things. But hopefully this does tighten it up a bit. Questions or comments on what you've seen here? And again, if you're watching, all these materials are available on our website, and I think make a note of that in the description of the video as well. All right, yes, Daryl.
Thank you, Madam Auditor. I do like the cleanup. I think this does help. I think it's a necessary thing to do. And I am supportive of what's proposed here. I would like to ask though, if we could some way separate the separation from service versus a break in service. In my opinion, this is just my opinion, a break in service is you're still on the fire department, you're just taking a leave of absence, you're going to be gone for a while, be it 60 days or 6 months, where separation from service is actually you're formally quit or formally retired. I think that would possibly help clean up some of these issues where we start blending in together break in service and separation from service. Those are just my comments.
I have one question about that. If you end up thinking it's a break in service, right, they're gonna come back and then they don't, are there a bunch of things you need to kind of undo to work through that? If it's like, oh, shoot, I'm actually not gonna come back. You know, they got, their TikToks went viral, they're going to Hollywood, right? Is there, is that, how do you handle a situation like that when you think it's just gonna be a break, but it's actually a separation?
We would require some type of like a leave of absence for any type of a break that's more than 30 or 60 days. We generally do leave of absence where they're still on the department, but they're just not, they don't have to come to fire calls, they don't have to come to meetings, they don't jeopardize losing a whole year of service then by missing 3 months. Their work takes them out of the town or out of the city for a couple months. They can't make calls, they can't make, whereas a separation from service is actually quit and things. But those are just my thoughts.
Just one just turns into the other if it has to. That makes sense. All right. Are there changes you think you can make quick onto that, or?
I think like to do that, it might make more sense to have two separate subdivisions, but have one that would apply to firefighters who resume active service and membership after a leave of absence or break in service, and then a separate subdivision that applies to firefighters who return after being paid.
So splitting it up might be an option. Yeah, any thoughts on that? Again, I think that, you know, this being our last meeting, I have a feeling that we would be able to split that out really without changing, I mean, just some duplication, right? So we could split it out and then run it by y'all just to make sure we got it, but pass it in the sense of these ideas, but we'll split into 2 sections. Anybody have a concern about that or have a thought about that? And Daryl, do you think that would get at it if we pulled and made a couple sections, 2 subdivisions so that you could see it, break and service stuff here? And okay, good deal. Yes, Carl.
I just generally kind of do agree that it's hard for lay people to read this section. We get a lot of questions about this too, as Rose kind of echoed, of like, okay, what is a break in service? What is leave of absence? What if I just miss quota for a year and I don't get active service credit? What if it's a medical leave? What if it's, we get a lot of questions about these things. What if I don't come back? You know, so it does happen quite often. You know, we had an issue a couple of years ago where someone was on a qualified federally protected leave. You know, they were on a military leave, and then there was questions of, did they ever come back? You know, and like it was kind of this weird situation where I had to dig, and they actually did come back for like 2 days. and then they, you know, and so like it was just all these like things of like again, that's partially the fire department versus us, but it was just kind of it is hard for people to understand the differences. And I kind of just tell people, well, it's a break in service, any kind of break in service, it's just a break in service, you know, whether it's leave, whether you're gone for a while, whether you're not, but it is hard for people to understand that there is some nuance there. I'm not sure if a whole other subdivision or whatever is necessary, but it is, I will echo that it's difficult.
Yeah, Michael.
Thank you, Madam Auditor. I like the idea of the breakout. I wonder if, I like the cleanup that is this. I wonder if the breakout is something that we push to next year and clean it up more next year, move forward with the cleanup piece and then revise it again, or is that just touching it too many times?
It sounds like it won't be tough to split it at this point. Is that, yeah, how much effort is that going to be just to put it in a couple? It seems like it was more just rearranging things, not necessarily writing new stuff, correct? Do we think? Should we give it a go? you know, we could give it a go, and then if it does come out like, oh, wow, it got much thornier than we thought, we can email you and say, hey, let's do this. They're discussing next week, so I'm thinking that I just chat for a bit. I should have saved this for the time when we need to have a moment. Technically, the parliamentary term for this is stand down, where I just say, hey, everyone talk amongst yourselves. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a second. That's one of the newer things in Robert's rules, which I know is what you come to this meeting for. So yeah, it looks like you guys figured something out.
I think so. And what is helpful is that the subdivision 6 is the very last one in that section. So like if we do wanted to split it into two, like
Oh.
they still could be right next to each other.
Okay, so we could just, yeah, we could just rearrange it. We'll run it by you. I think, again, you know, if we were to pass it today, that it's these ideas, but adding another section, I think sometimes some redundancy can be helpful. Even if you have something duplicated in a couple spots, so because people look at one spot or another. I think this is a relatively simple change from what we have. However, I think as we live with it, we might want to take a look again at it again next year. Maybe we just kind of keep this in the back of our head if we want to review and see if it helped. I mean, someday I think ultimately the ultimate goal is to have statutes that are also annotated so that when you get there, you can click on it and it sends you to a flow chart, or it sends you to a video or something. But we'll get to that a little later, probably years before we start doing that. All right. So I think we can do that part, but I think we can also keep it on our radar for next year too, if there's more we want to do. Yeah, Rose.
Just going to note, I anticipate that when this language is reviewed by LCPR and by the revisor's office, they may have questions and comments and suggestions as well. So
True. Yeah, if I know in the past, if we've had something where we weren't able to finish it by the last meeting and we had added something else, we've emailed it out to you, give you a couple days to respond and counted and kind of went with it that way. So if you're okay with that, we could pass it in this form with the idea that we're going to rearrange it for clarity and run it by you one more time by email before we really lock her down. If that works for people. Reading your faces right now. Seems like I'm not seeing any disagreement necessarily. Other comments on this section here? Okay, looks like maybe ready for a vote. This is what I believe we're voting on. If I, the motion I think before us is that we will make the changes in Exhibit B and also rearrange, add another subdivision to separate some things out, and then give you one more shot to look at it before it's super final. That's the motion. Everybody write that down. Yeah, we'll go back to the recording on that again. This it's subdivision B with the idea of an additional splitting some things out for clarity, but no substantive changes to the concepts. All right. Okay, so with that, unmute yourselves. All those in favor of Exhibit B with some rearranging, say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Okay, the ayes have it. And again, watch your email. You will, but when we get through, we're going to make a stab at it. We'll send it over to LCPR. We'll see what the advisor says. So you may not see something until like January, right? What do you think?
well, and maybe what we can do is we can take a stab at it internally here, send it around, and then make sure the working group members don't see anything right off the bat that's concerning, and then we can get
that's a
over
good
to
idea.
CPR with the other language.
Got it. We'll do that. And then of course, if anybody else comes back and says, whoa, hold your horses, then we'll again connect with y'all again on that. Okay, that's a lot of work. Again, I want to thank Rose and I want to thank Molly and Maya and Ramona and who else worked on this? Did Mina work on, and Michael and everybody, the whole pension division. I know this is I know it's fun work, but it's I know it's really technical, so thank you. All right, with that, I believe we're ready for our next order of business. So if you'll take a look at Exhibit D, discussion of our firefighter and service definitions. So Rose, you want to walk through that?
Okay, so so at the last meeting on September 16th, Kevin asked a question about when we were reviewing the break-in service definition. And Kevin's question was, what about EMS only? And so so his question is, what about members of the Relief Association who are volunteer emergency medical personnel and are not supervising or performing fire prevention or fire prevention or suppression duties? And so it was a great question. We started looking at it, and it did seem to not really cover individuals who are solely providing those duties. And so we tried to tighten it up a little bit and address those situations that that maybe were not anticipated. So there's a 4 definitions in front of you. The first is firefighting service, and we are adding into that definition volunteer emergency medical personnel under section 424A.01. That section does require that the Relief Association amend its bylaws to allow those people on, and the municipality has to also approve their membership. Separate from active service, that's the definition I mentioned earlier. It means permanently ceasing duties with the fire department. And so this definition also referred to fire suppression and fire prevention duties. And so here we're instead proposing changing that to all firefighting service with the fire department. The break-in service definition, which Kevin had asked about, again, referring to firefighting service, so that it's broader than just the suppression and prevention. And then firefighter, that definition, referring back to the firefighting service.
Okay, so good catch on that. And so as we were looking at this, I know one thing I thought was, oh, you know, that list people liked down there. So we probably don't need that list, but I know one of you even mentioned that you referred to that list before, but if y'all are good with it sitting like this, that would be great. So yeah, thoughts about these updates to make sure that we're covering people who are EMS only. Do we hit it on one, on the first go? We do it on one ski? That doing it in one ski, that's the thing, the voice actors here, if you can get it done in one. But all right. All right, well, are we ready to vote? Okay, well, there you go. And I gotta say, again, you're always tight, but the nice weather doesn't hurt it either on there. Well, so let's take a look at Exhibit D. So making these changes as to make sure we're covering everybody. So the changes in Exhibit D, all those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say no. All right, the ayes have it. Again, thank you for catching that. We saved ourselves a bunch of people some headaches down the road on that. All right, let's go to combined service pensions, kind of our last decision topic here that's new. So if you'll pull up Exhibit E and Rose, let's walk through it.
So combined service pensions, so we also talked about this at the last meeting. There didn't seem to be much interest. So the question that was posed to the group was whether there should be clarity or a clarification for firefighters who are serving on 2 different fire departments at the same time. And if both of those relief associations provided for combined service pensions, how their service would be calculated. And there didn't seem to be much interest in making a change. And I think in thinking it through and discussing it internally here, we recommend that no changes be pursued at this time to authorize combined service pensions to firefighters with concurrent service. It seems administratively like we had a lot of questions about how that would work, and it did raise some concerns for us as well.
So our options here basically, and any of our motions are to take a position in favor of something, to take a position against it, where we're going to be going out and actually working against something or speaking against something, or just don't take a position because it's not something that we need to deal with right now, or it's not an issue that we want to weigh in on. So it's basically yes, no, or nothing. And nothing just means nothing. That we're just, we talked about it, and that's as much as we'll do with it this year, and maybe long term. So with that, if somebody has a position they would like to take, a position in favor or against, this would be the time to make that motion. So if you move that we make a change of some sort, or that we say that we were to make a strong statement that we're against any changes. If you're all just real quiet for a while, then I'll assume that is an idea that's like, we don't feel like we need to take any action on that this year. Again, that does never change what we do in the future. All right, yes, Dan. I see, yeah, it's Dan and then Carl.
Thank you, Julie. I guess what I see in this one is that, at least in the metro area, the most common thing where you have somebody serving on 2 fire departments is they're a full-time firefighter, a career firefighter somewhere, and they live in a city with a volunteer paid on call department, and they're also on that. So there's not a combined thing going on because they're a para firefighter in their career and they're getting relief association here. Where I see the situation making sense to the department is in greater Minnesota, where you have a firefighter that's on whatever town's fire department. They get 50 or 100 calls a year, and they live in between 2 towns, and the other town that they're right in between also has a fire department that is just looking for trained firefighters that can respond when they have their 50 calls per year. But the administrative side of what that requires of having 2 fire departments with bylaws that are written in an alignment, I agree, becomes very complicated. And I don't know if I have, or if what I see out in front of us is good guidance of how they should do that. So I don't want to take a stand that completely precludes it, but I don't know if there's something here that allows us to say, yes, this would be the effective way to get this done. That's just my comment on it. So I guess I'm saying, I don't know that we should necessarily advocate for a change. I just don't want to preclude departments or relief associations and coming and saying, okay, here's a framework to make this work. Can we do this?
So we'd be open to someone figuring something out. Is that
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, Carl.
I agree with Dan. I would say, yeah, I mean, unless I was just going to ask Rose in the office there if they had a preference, but otherwise it seems like no stance seems acceptable to me.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, you can share that. I can share that. No stance is what the team would prefer as well. Yes. All right. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. I think we're ready for a vote. So all those in favor, oh, no, we're not ready for vote. We're ready to not vote. We're not voting. There we go. Let's go to the next item there. That's how we do it. All right. Nothing. Yeah. You can tell it. I haven't run a convention for a while or done as much parliamentary work as I used to do. Get my nerd skills back under me. All right, we're going to take a look then. Exhibits F through H are a summary of things we've already agreed to. And so just want to make sure we all still agreed to what we think we agreed to, or that we're understanding it right. So Rose is basically just going to walk through the things that we've got there. You've got it in front of you. And then we'll just take, if there's anything that you think we missed or anything, or we want to reconsider anything.
Okay, so the first one is Exhibit F. This is the audit threshold changes. So in Exhibit F, we're doing 3 things. We are increasing the threshold that requires an annual audit to $1 million from the current $750,000, and that's in either special fund assets or liabilities. We are allowing relief associations that drop below the threshold to revert back to having an annual agreed upon procedures engagement performed by their CPA instead of having to have the full financial audit. They could choose to continue doing the audit if they wanted to. But right now in the statute, once you go over the threshold, you have to continue having the audit forever, even if you drop back down below. And then the third thing is providing a 1-year grace period before audits become required when a relief association exceeds the threshold. And that's been a longstanding practice, but we're just making it super clear, hopefully, hopefully making it super clear in the language.
Yeah, maybe ideally we can also use that in other places when we make changes. Any discussion or anything else about these 3 items? All right, well, with that, there's really no vote to take on that at this point. And so, Rosa, if you don't mind, do you mind just kind of talking through the, wait a minute, did I miss anything?
Oh, G and H.
Do I have to talk? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, go ahead. Let's,
Okay.
so that was the audit threshold stuff. Let's keep going through. And you want to kind of just remind us about G.
Okay, so G is authorized special fund expenditures, and this is adding language to the list of authorized disbursements from the special fund to include purchasing annuities to replace monthly benefit service pensions, which and replacing or purchasing those annuities is authorized under 424A.193. So Maya, maybe could you scroll down just a tiny bit? Thank you. So that's the underlying language is what's being added. And the effective date for this one is date following final enactment.
All right, any discussion on this item? All right, seeing none, let's take a look at our deferred member allocations.
Okay, and Exhibit H, this is striking the word interest from the deferred service pension subdivision for defined contribution plans. And so this is an update. I think that interest language was kind of old from when defined benefit and defined contribution plans were all in the same section. And so this is clarifying that it's additional investment performance is what is being credited to deferred member accounts in the defined contribution plans. And this would also be effective the day following final enactment.
And they don't come from.
Good, I heard a little, I heard
Yes, I know.
someone.
Okay.
Oh, Carl, I'm sorry, you wanted to?
I'm sorry, I forgot to.
Oh, no worries. All right, any discussion on Exhibit H? Okay, looks like seeing none, I think again, those are the items that we've done before.
Mhm.
And maybe if you would like to talk, you had something else. Yes.
Yeah, I realized for Exhibit D, I forgot to ask about what effective date the group would want for
Oh, sure.
that. And those definitions, like I think, those definitions get used quite a bit, and we are, like, I would like to have people to have a little bit of time to just percolate on it before everything goes into effect for that one. So maybe a January 1, what date is it? January 1, 2027?
Oh, before you have to start applying it to something?
Yeah.
Okay, so it would not be, maybe one question I have is though, oh, I see, never mind. Got it. Yeah, question, and I think it's Daryl? Yeah, Daryl.
The Relief Association would have to change its bylaws to allow this in some instances, so it would take some time to do this, correct?
Would they have an option that if they wanted to take advantage of some of these changes? No? Well,
Yeah. So that is a good point. So probably many, or some at least, relief associations probably have language in their bylaws mirroring these definitions. So we might want to give a little bit of time.
oh, in case somebody else wanted to put it in there to match it,
Mm-hmm.
in case they someday do, okay.
So is January 1, 2027 enough time?
My gut reactions, that feels like a long time.
Well, we won't know until like May 26th, so it would give them maybe 6 months to get the bylaws updated.
Okay, never mind. I'm cool with it. Yeah, so, any other discussion on that date? Let's vote on it formally just to make sure. All right, all those in favor of adding an effective date of January of 2027, January 1 of 2027 to Exhibit D, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All right, those opposed say no. Okay, again, we're all set. Nice catch on that. Anything else there? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we end this with one final, kind of one final, giving us space kind of a motion. And then it also gives Rose a chance to kind of remind us of the process from here. So Rose, if you want to remind us kind of how this works from here, and then we'll do that motion.
Sure. So so what I will do is I will make those changes to the return to service exhibit that we talked about. I will circulate those out by email, request any feedback or questions to that. Once everybody within the working group thinks that looks okay, then I typically would email the language over to LCPR. I see we do have Molly Pearson on, who's new over at LCPR.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, this might be a good moment to pop in here. And Molly, if you don't mind hopping on and just giving us a wave, if again, you didn't expect to be on camera, so I don't want to make you be on camera if you didn't expect to be. But we're really happy to hear Molly Pearson will be replacing the inimitable Lisa there too. So yes, Molly, I'm sure you're gonna have you have a really long opening. Yeah, she's just like us, and so we'll let her know it's perfect on there too. So we're gonna miss Lisa, but we've already heard great things about Molly, so very excited about that as well.
Yeah, so I'll email language over to Molly. I think usually then Susan and Alina would review the language, probably have questions, probably have some suggestions. We'll work it out together. Usually then there would be like a kind of a draft bill format. I can send that back out to the group, and then we would work, that would get submitted to the revisor's office to get jacketed and put it into a bill, and we would work then to get authors lined up.
All right, so the motion generally is, I'm spacing on the wording. Do you know the wording handy? I can maybe
a motion for OSA staff to work with LCPR and revisor's office to incorporate finalize any changes.
Okay, so the motion before us is to authorize OSA staff to work with LCPR and the revisor to make any technical changes. Again, the idea behind this is that these aren't going to be substantive changes. We're not going to change direction, but things that would change wording or tighten things up. But again, not stray from our intention. If something like that would happen, we, in some cases, we asked to call you back and say, hey, let's just hop on a call and let's talk through it if it gets too far from our intent here. So any discussion on the idea of letting us have discussions?
I'd move that we, hi, it's Mike. I'd move that we ask the OSA's office to work with the revisor and all the other parties to continue our good work and move it along. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. And I think Susan, you had a.
Yeah, I just want to thank you all for doing your work this quickly, sort of wrapping it up now. We're not even into October yet, or maybe we are, we're getting close, but I just want to tell you, we really appreciate it, especially this break and service stuff. Nightmare. That is a nightmare provision. So really appreciate the extra time, and I'm so happy to keep working with Molly, with Rose, obviously, and with the auditor. And we do have, both Molly and Alina on staff here, so we'll be working hard to get this done for you guys.
Oh, thank you. Yes, and I'm sure, luckily, all the sessions have been so kind of easy and non-controversial that, I mean, I'm not sure why you need the extra time, but as we see it right now, let's, everybody's trying to get, let's get things in the revisor before everyone comes back. Get things in there. I totally get it on there. So any other, so I think we might be ready for a vote unless there's any other discussion. All right, all those in favor of allowing the OSA to make any technical changes needed with the revisor and LCPR staff, please say aye.
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 Those opposed say no. All right, the ayes have it, the motion carries. Oh, I got a please in there, I'm so sorry. Another fun parliamentary fact, you don't say please if you're chairing, you don't, because they're not doing it for you. Y'all aren't doing it for me anyway. I'm just calling it out, so don't say please or thank you or any of that stuff. But I guess maybe if I could just end kind of just with a thank you as well. I got to say this year particularly, it's really clear that because of the way you all work on this, you made this remote structure really effective, and as a result, I think it's going to help us include more people, and the geography is not going to be a barrier to someone having a voice on this group, and that's because you all are just so easy to work with remotely as well as in person. So that I really appreciate that. And also, I just got to say, as a former math teacher, if any of you not sure what you want to do and have some extra time, teaching, you all can say stuff really tight. You get right to it, not a lot of extra flourishes or walking around and talking in circles. And that is actually a more rare thing than you think, and that generally would make someone a really good teacher. And I know many of you do training, so that's also clear. But I learned a lot from all of you on how to just say it. Can't tell from what I'm saying now, but other parts of my life I do apply. I apply the things you've all taught me. And again, your expertise is so good, but I never feel like when I leave here I can't follow it because you're so clear. And I really appreciate that. Also, anytime we go anywhere and we bring you all up, people are really do appreciate the work that you're doing. And so wherever I make a speech, if I can say, I like to say I'm connected to you, and I like to say I'm connected to these people here because it makes me look good. And so I appreciate that. Again, you're well respected across the state in addition. And I say that hoping that if people are interested for next year, keep that in mind. In fact, when do we normally start setting that up?
Usually like June, July, we'll start looking at the group for next year. And I will keep you updated, like when the bill gets introduced, when we've got authors lined up, and there will be, I'm sure, an LCPR hearing where we will be presenting the bill, and it's super, super helpful to have some of you there to help.
Oh, when you show up in your uniforms, and I'll tell you, oof, and that's everybody sits up and takes notice, and often I believe that when Susan can, she aligns that with another day where you're already going to be, you may be down here for another reason as well. So it's always great. And so if any of you have not had a chance to do that, I always said, I've always wanted to testify. We've got you. We could find a way to get you up in front there. Again, I'm looking at the expressions. I'm not seeing the people that do though. Again, just like you do here. If either of us get rambly, you guys just like boom, cut right through it. Boom, we're done. So again, for all of you who showed up and been willing to help put these ideas forward, we really appreciate that too. All right. Well, with that, I don't see other business before us. Is there any other business for the good of the order? Let's vote one more time, just because you never have to vote on if there's no more business, you don't have to vote on adjournment, but it's always fun. So one last vote. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. All right, the ayes have it. And again, well done. Super smooth year. Appreciate it. I hope if you're watching this on YouTube, you don't think that the politics is always this easy, because this is a unique group, and you should all aspire to being as well as effective as the group we have here. So with that, be safe. Can't wait to see y'all again in person. Good one.